Ready to grow your savings the smart way. Today we're tackling two popular options for safe and predictable returns. Certificates of deposit, or CDs as most people know them, and then there's multi-year guaranteed annuities, which are often called MYGAs.
And the thing about these options, you see, is they offer something even better than, well, the thrill of a high-risk gamble. It's that sense of predictability, that peace of mind when it comes to your hard-earned money.
It's about knowing your money is growing steadily and safely.
Exactly.
So let's start with the basics. Now, we've all heard of CDs, those time deposits you make at a bank. You're essentially loaning them a sum of money for a set period, and they guarantee a fixed interest rate. You know exactly what you're getting from the get-go.
It's like setting your savings on autopilot. And MYGAs, well, they're similar in that they also offer a fixed interest rate for a predetermined period. But with the MYGA, you're working with an insurance company instead of a bank.
Okay, so instead of depositing money in a bank, you're essentially buying a contract from an insurance company.
That's a great way to put it. And here's where it gets interesting, those MYGAs. They often come with the potential for higher returns compared to CDs.
Higher returns, huh? Now you've got my attention. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about safety. Because, well, we all want to know our savings are secure.
Absolutely. With CDs, you have that assurance with the FDIC insurance, the one that protects your deposits, up to $250,000 per depositor, per bank.
Right, so even if the bank goes under, your investment is safe. That's reassuring. What about MYGAs? What kind of safety net do they offer?
Well, MYGAs work a bit differently. They're not FDIC insured. Instead, your investment is backed by the financial strength of the insurance company issuing it.
So it's more about trusting in the company's stability then.
You got it. That's why it's so important to check out the financial ratings of the insurance company. Really do your homework. Agencies like AM Best, for example, can provide in-depth assessments of their financial health.
It's like checking their credit score, making sure they're good for it.
Exactly.
So it's about finding that balance, isn't it? Between growth and knowing your investment is secure. It's not just about chasing the highest interest rate.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about aligning your financial goals with the right level of risk.
Now let's circle back to those interest rates and the potential for growth. With CDs, you typically lock in a fixed rate for the entire term, is that right?
That's right. But with MYGAs, while they also have fixed rates, that's where things can get, well, really interesting for investors. And it's a big part of why Jerry Rodriguez, our expert, is such a fan of them, especially when it comes to long-term strategies like, well, planning for retirement, for instance.
Okay, now we're talking. What makes these MYGAs so appealing, especially for retirement?
Well, it really comes down to a powerful combo that MYGAs pack. We're talking tax-deferred growth and often, even higher returns than CDs, especially when you're looking at the long game.
So break it down for me. How do those tax advantages actually work? It sounds like that could be a game changer for how my money grows over time.
Oh, absolutely. With an MYGA, you see, you don't pay taxes on the interest you earn until you actually withdraw it.
Yeah.
So usually that happens in retirement. It's like a little tax shelter for your savings. Your money's compounding without the IRS taking a chunk out every year.
That's a huge plus, especially when you compare it to CDs where, well, the interest gets taxed annually, right? Even if you haven't touched the principal yet.
Exactly. And Rodriguez, he argues that this is one of the biggest reasons why MYGAs can be such a powerhouse when it comes to building that retirement nest egg. He says the longer your money's invested, the more those tax benefits really, really make a difference. They amplify your returns in a big way.
So it's like letting your money grow in peace without Uncle Sam taking a cut year after year. But I'm curious, what kind of return are we talking about here? Can you give us an idea of how much of a difference this tax-deferred growth can make in real terms?
Sure. While the exact returns, those will vary depending on, the specific MYGA, its terms, what the market's doing. But let's just say, hypothetically, you decide to invest a good chunk of change into an MYGA that has a fixed interest rate. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's for 10 years. Now, because that interest is compounding without being taxed every single year, you could potentially, and this is key, you could potentially see your investment grow way more compared to, say, a CD with a similar rate over that same time frame.
So potentially a much, much healthier bottom line after that decade, thanks to the power of compounding and those sweet, sweet tax advantages.
You got it. And here's another little perk that Rodriguez points out. Some MYGAs, they let you convert that accumulated value, all that growth, into a guaranteed income stream once you hit retirement. It's called annuitization.
So it's almost like creating like your own personal pension plan.
Exactly. It gives you that peace of mind knowing that
Mhm.
you've got a predictable income coming in every month, no matter how long you live or how the markets are doing.
Which is a big worry for a lot of retirees, right? Outliving their savings.
Oh, absolutely. MYGA could potentially replace a portion of that income you had before retirement with those regular guarantee payments.
That is true.
You got it. And, there's another strategy Rodriguez is a big fan of that we should probably touch on. It's called laddering your MYGAs.
Laddering. Okay, now you've got me really intrigued.
It's a smart strategy, see, where you buy multiple MYGAs, but each of them has a different maturity date. So
Yeah.
you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. It's about creating a staggered flow of funds.
Instead of waiting, say, 10 years to access all of it, you've got portions coming available at different points along the way, like every few years or so.
Exactly. Laddering, it gives you more flexibility. You need some cash for, I don't know, an unexpected expense. Boom. You've got access to a portion of your funds at these different intervals. Maybe you want to reinvest at potentially higher rates if the market's looking good. Or maybe you just want a little something to supplement your income.
So it's like a cool mix of guaranteed returns, but you've also got some built-in liquidity there. I like the sound of that. But it also makes me wonder, like anything else in the financial world, MYGAs probably have some things to watch out for, right? It can't all be sunshine and roses.
You're right. They've got a lot of potential, but you always want to weigh the pros and cons, especially based on, well, your own needs and how much risk you're comfortable with, right?
So we've covered a lot of ground about what makes MYGAs potentially really attractive, but let's talk about the potential downsides. It's good to be aware of any red flags.
Right. You always want to go in with your eyes open.
Hmm.
And while MYGAs offer those tempting tax deferrals and possibly higher returns, you can't forget that they don't have the FDIC insurance that you get with CDs.
Right, that's a big one. So with MYGA, my investment, it's only as safe as the insurance company itself. Is that right? What happens if the company runs into trouble?
Well, that's a legitimate concern. And it's why those financial ratings we talked about, they're absolutely key. Checking those ratings from agencies like AM Best, that can give you a much clearer picture of, just how sound the company is financially before you even think about investing.
It's like giving them a financial background check, making sure they're in it for the long haul.
Exactly. You really want that confidence that your money's in good hands. Look for companies that have those strong ratings from several different agencies. That's a good indicator that they've got a solid track record, a history of financial stability. It's all about managing that risk.
And that's where having a trusted financial advisor can be so helpful, right? Someone to help you navigate the ins and outs of all of this and give you personalized advice.
Absolutely. A good advisor, they can be invaluable when you're comparing different MYGAs, trying to make sense of all the fine print, and just making sure that this type of investment really aligns with your own individual financial plan.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive here, what's the main takeaway you want our listeners to remember about CDs and MYGAs?
That there's no magic answer. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to picking between a CD and an MYGA. They both have their own set of pluses and minuses. CDs, they offer that rock-solid safety and that FDIC insurance, making them a really good choice for folks who are most concerned about protecting their principal.
It's like parking your money in a super secure, even if it's a lower yield savings account, you know it's going to be there when you need it.
Right. Now, MYGAs, they've got that potential for those higher returns and those really attractive tax benefits, which makes them especially appealing for long-term goals, like planning for retirement. But, and this is a big but, you have to remember that how safe they are, how well they perform, it all goes back to the financial strength of the insurance company.
So with MYGAs, there's definitely some homework involved. It's really important to vet that insurance company, make sure you understand all the terms and conditions. And like we said, talking to a financial advisor could be a really smart move to make sure it's the right fit for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The more informed you are, the better equipped you are to make good financial decisions.
Speaking of being informed, Jerry Rodriguez's book, the one we've been talking about, that sounds like it's packed with useful information for anyone who's thinking about these types of investments.
Oh, absolutely. He really dives deep into the world of CDs and MYGAs, and it's full of great practical advice. I definitely recommend giving it a read.
Perfect. And with that, we've come to the end of our deep dive into the world of CDs and MYGAs. Hopefully you found it helpful and feel ready to make those smart financial choices.
Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So take your time, do your research, and choose those investments that really align with your goals and your risk tolerance.
And don't be afraid to get some professional guidance if you need it. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.